Hey everyone, welcome back to Seeking Witchcraft. It's me, your host, Ashley, and today I have on another Witches and Wine Uncensored with my very own Coven.
Hey.
Not everybody's here, but let's pour the wine. Yeah.
Hey.
So it's been a very long time since I've done a Witches and Wine. The last time I did this, I was a first degree with my High Priest and High Priestess, and today I have my High Priest and his partner, and I also have some of my initiates, which is really exciting. Not everybody's here, but yeah, we're just gonna kind of talk for a little bit and see how the conversation goes. So, y'all know I'm Ashley.
Hi, I'm Golpes.
Hi, I'm Fern.
What's good, y'all? This is Cain.
This is Hazel here.
My name's November.
Hi, I'm Keen.
This is Sherry. Y'all might know me from the yoga episode.
Hi, Sherry.
Wait, how do we like the wine?
Hold on.
The wine?
Oh, wait.
Wait, cheers.
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 Yes! I like the wine.
I do like the wine. That's very
Ooh.
smooth.
That's nice.
Pretty smooth.
Yeah, the wine is so good.
The
It
wine,
mixes well with the Whitney.
the wine that we are drinking is from Argentina. It is called Four Gatos Locos. Well, I guess in Spanish. Cuatro Gatos Locos. It's a Malbec from 2020.
Oh, no wonder I like it. I love that.
Four crazy cats.
Yeah.
So what shall we talk about first?
I think we should definitely talk about, like, you guys mentioned hex positivity. I think that's a great start.
Take it away, Azazel.
Take it away, baby.
I mean, I think that a lot of people tend to view hexes and curses as being a little bit more towards, like, obviously the baneful side of magic, but I think it can also have a very beneficial side to it itself.
Good for one person, bad for another.
Sometimes people deserve it.
I mean, yeah, like we...
All right, Sherry.
Sometimes people
I'm
do
not going to
definitely
name any
deserve it.
names, but... Goddamn.
Sometimes people definitely deserve it.
Why did you look my way when you said some people deserve it?
Didn't I say that?
You guys should probably
No.
say.
Did we both
Hazel,
say
how many
that?
grudges do
The
you
two
have?
Libras
Too many.
I feel like you guys should probably say who you are so people know who the hell is talking right to each other.
Hi, this is Cain, and I personally just want to say that hexing is a part of a very healthy practice, in my personal opinion, because as I feel, and as an example I gave earlier today, actually, I said, if someone punches me in the face, and I in turn knock your fucking teeth out, I don't think I'm wrong for that. And as a matter of fact,
Have you done that?
yeah. And as a matter of fact, and that bitch deserved it. And to further my
Period.
point, as a witch, in my humble, unasked for opinion,
Unasked for?
I personally feel that if you see evil in this world, if you see evil being done either to you or to others around you, and for you to remain silent and complicit, I think is a disservice not only to yourself, but to the spirits that you work with. Because I personally feel that as witches, we are karma in this world. I believe every witch, trabaja con dos manos. We work with two hands. So, with one hand, I could bring blessings and beautiful things to your life, and the other hand, I could really fuck you up. Mm-hmm. And I feel like working with those two things is what, period. And that's on Lily Potter's grave. And I personally feel like if you're not taking your personal power to enact your will where you see wrong happening, I feel like you are part of the problem, or you're like enabling
Condoning,
the problem, or
yeah.
condoning it, even in my opinion, if you know you have the power to stop it. Because I mean, there's binding, sure, and all these kinds of things, but it's kind of like even when you're dealing with the law, right? It's just like if you're dealing with somebody who's especially aggressive, you're gonna need a more aggressive means to deal with this person. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes a binding is not gonna cut it. Sometimes a cord cutting is not going to cut it. Sometimes a block, you know what I'm saying? It's just like people need to be dealt with aggressively sometimes, because that is the only fucking language that they understand.
A very timely notion for everything that's happening in the world right now, I think.
For sure.
So what you're saying is, I should hex Donald Trump.
I think
As a
we
matter
all
of fact.
should.
Well, and that's just gonna get into. And I'm sorry, I'm gonna make the girls mad with this one. But
Not
if
the
you have not
girls.
received the memo, witchcraft is political. You heard it here.
Oh,
It
yeah.
always
Oh, yeah.
has been political.
The personal is
And
political.
absolutely. And I feel like if you, as a witch, feel that you should be apolitical, I think that you're a fucking fraud. And I think that you're just benefiting off of the aesthetics and off of all of the money that comes to you from being a witch.
Money.
But you don't. Well, yes, absolutely. Because there's
making a
people
joke.
that like make Instagram
Profit off of
accounts
it,
and
yeah.
profit off of the
absolutely.
image of being a witch. But when
The
it comes
aesthetic
down
of being
the
a witch.
aesthetic
Yeah.
of
The
being
love
a
and
witch,
light.
right? Exactly. But when it comes down to the wire, because you have to think historically, witches have always, number one,
Fringe,
been an
yeah.
oppressed figure. We're on the fringes of society, and we have helped people who are also on the fringes of society. So I feel like if you're a witch, to turn around then and enable the system of oppression, I feel like you're a hypocrite. And you
Agreed.
heard it here.
Yeah.
This is Cain, everybody.
100%.
So November here with a question. How do we choose when it's appropriate to hex or to protect?
Oh, and can I add a follow-up question to that,
Mm-hmm.
or an additional? How much of a background should you know before you get involved if it's between like people you don't know too much about?
I think that because I've actually done like spell work for this. I remember when me and Cain used to actually live together. We had a neighbor that they were constantly getting like we knew them
yeah.
and we constantly had like no issues with them. Like they were amazing. Like we loved them. And then for some reason, the people who lived right across from us would constantly be calling the cops on them and whatever. And it got to the point where like, you know, I was getting really fed up with it because I was like, you know, these people are great people. Like they're never like causing any problems. And like, I don't understand like why, you know, it's the middle of the day. And like, yes, I understand that you work the night shift, but it's not like everybody's job to police the way that they sound in the middle, like in 3 p.m.
Yeah.
There's a difference, I think, between being courteous,
Right.
but also like limiting.
If it's 4 o'clock in the morning and like everyone's trying to sleep, then yeah, I get it. But like if you work the odd schedule and you happen to be like right across from people who are just like living their life, it's not even like they weren't even being exceptionally loud, but they caused a lot of problems for them, and I felt it was very wrong the way that they were treating them and constantly targeting them. And so I decided to do a justice spell that was very aggressive in the way that it was supposed to enact itself. But knowing that I was not necessarily a part of the situation, it was more geared towards whomever is at fault for the aggression is going to get essentially the justice served towards them.
Sure.
And I think took maybe a week or two, and then and they were essentially evicted from their house.
Yes, I remember.
Damn.
The people who lived across the street that were constantly calling the cops were evicted from the house that they were renting.
That
And
wasn't the fine ass.
no, it was not. It was not. No,
He was.
he was.
We both thought so.
Yeah, no,
Just
he.
saying. Do you remember that time you came out and pretended to smoke a cigarette because he was talking to me on the phone?
I did do that.
This is before
regardless,
you guys were together too.
we are not talking about the finance drug dealer. But
If he's a drug dealer but also works in finance, I guess. the
No,
finance-
not finance drug dealer.
The finance,
Oh, the
the
fine
finance
ass
drug
drug
dealer.
drug
Yes.
dealer.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
No, yeah.
I also
There's
want to
a
add.
distinction.
I just also want to add a little point to answer your question, Ashley. Number one, if you're hex responsibly, right? And what I mean by that is, every good witch, in my opinion, is going to do divination before embarking on any kind of working. Because at the end of the day, even if you want to hex somebody, you know what I'm saying? Percocet somebody. If you want to hex somebody,
Percocet somebody.
Hold up.
Oh my! I haven't heard that one before. Tell me more.
y'all don't know about lean? Anyway, so
Yeah, that fucking that cranberry vodka we had earlier.
oh, the
Tasted like
Robitussin. Yeah,
Robitussin.
the Robitussin.
Oh my God.
Disgusting.
At the end of the day,
Wow.
you don't know who someone is fucking with in their spiritual arsenal, right? You don't know who the average person has or what they're working, what spirits they have involved. So because of that, you always want to make sure to do divination before you're going to work on any enemy. Because you want to know what they're working with, first and foremost. You don't want to go in shooting in the dark or going in blind. You know what I'm saying? Because that could have really serious repercussions on you if you go up against something that someone is very heavily protected, and so on and so forth. So I mean, there's obviously ways around that. I mean, I've done workings where you remove divine protection before working on somebody. Even, believe it or not, people who are very religious, if you're working on religious figures, prayers, all these kinds of things, whether we want to look at that or not, those are all energetic forms of protection. So when you have even a pastor that has hundreds of people praying over him, that is an energetic wall that you are going to have to get past.
Whether you want to like
Whether
that
you want to
piece of
like it or
information
not. Right, but it's true. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, it comes down to belief.
That reminds me of one time I was in California, and I was at this hotel that had different fire pits set up next to the beach with a bunch of chairs around it. And I went to this one fire pit where there was this one guy sitting there by himself. And I said, hey, do you mind if I sit here at this fire pit with you? And he was like, well, I have some friends coming, but like, yeah, that should be fine. And I was like, okay. Maybe like 2-3 minutes pass, and a big-ass group of people comes up. And he turns to me, he's like, we're actually with some prayer group. Do you mind if we pray for you? And I was like, please, go right ahead. I'll take all the blessings
absolutely.
I can get.
All the
like,
energy, absolutely. All the blessings you want to give to me.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Never say no.
Yeah, so those things can definitely count as protection as well, because as much as the person believes in it, therein lies all the power.
That's the reason I win all those gift cards, because those people in the beach. For the listeners that don't know, I win a lot of gift cards randomly. That's my witch superpower.
Too many goddamn gift cards.
Oh my God.
It is ridiculous.
She's a
I know a
lucky girl.
gift card hate to see Ashley come in.
and it low key rubs off on us sometimes.
Yeah.
True.
Like
my initiates have seen.
one time,
Not my high priestess.
this
but,
has nothing to do with witchcraft. Wait,
This is Fern.
This is Fern. One time, my job gave everybody like a digital gift card to like what the hell, Panera, and everybody got like one $15 gift card, but I got two $15. And I didn't understand why, but I immediately in the back of my head I was just like,
I feel like I should take a tally of how many I've gotten so far through 2025.
Absolutely.
My tally right now is 2, and it's only
Jesus.
It's not even. We're not done with January yet.
we're only in January, and I've won 2 gift cards, $30 total so far.
how? From where?
My God.
The Safeway down the road.
Safeway.
I randomly decided, I was like, you know what? I never go grocery shopping on a Sunday, but I'm gonna go in and just get some deli meat, whatever. I walk in, they had a whole Chinese New Year festival with live music, free food. They had
At the Safeway?
At the Safeway, the Dragon Dancer. They had a raffle, and I was like, "Ooh, I already know I'm gonna win that." So I stuck around and I won $30.
That's awesome.
Period.
Of course you did.
I have a question about hex positivity, just hexes in general. You know that the whole phrase when you hex somebody, you get it back
The
threefold
threefold
law.
law.
threefold
threefold.
law. Yes, that.
We can read.
Do you actually believe that
No.
is?
Hell no.
No.
I'm sorry.
No.
Finish the question.
That was my question.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I had
So
a very
if I-
related question,
We
actually.
have. Okay.
Volpes here.
Vulpes. Take over.
I was
Not
going
Volpes.
to ask, for people that have been brought up with the threefold law, how do you rectify that fear? Is there a way to incorporate
Sure.
without having that fear?
Sure.
The same way I think you have to get over having Catholic trauma, if that's your background, is the same way you have to process that is not necessarily a fact when it comes to magic.
100%. I would say for somebody who is, coming up, especially learning about the craft, I mean, you're going to see and read things about the threefold and the reed and all these other kinds of things. But we also have to understand that reed does not mean law. Reed means something more like advice, right? And I personally feel if you are newly practicing in something like that, I would not typically advise towards something like hexing. Just because you don't have a very good understanding of how these kinds of things operate.
Yeah, how the forces itself work.
How these
How
things
specific
work.
you have to
Exactly,
be.
how specific you have to be. I'm sorry, remind me of your question again so I can make sure I answer that.
So, for people that are brought up and have this idea
Okay.
of the,
So I was going to say, my response to that is all is in the mind, right? So I really truly believe if you believe that something bad will happen to you if you do that, something bad will happen to you. But I think
But
that's
you're also going
because,
to look for the things
but that's
in
what I'm
your
saying.
life
You're
that
looking
are quote
for
unquote
something,
bad.
right?
Yeah.
But I also think that your mind is making that happen, or at least making you see that. To me, as far as I'm concerned, there is only justified and unjustified workings, right?
Yeah.
So if I want to do a hex or a baneful work on somebody because I'm simply jealous, over I do a baneful work on someone who genuinely fucked me over, I think one of two things will happen. Either nothing will happen, right? Or there is a possibility that could fall back on you, or you will reap, or something will happen to that person, but you're going to reap the repercussions of that because, spirit, whatever you want to call it, knows that was not called for.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that with hexing, like you've heard said before, if you cannot hex, you cannot heal, and vice versa. So I think that you need to have an awareness and a responsibility also at the same time when you're working a hex. And I remember I was talking to, my ex-partner at the time, and because he wanted to curse somebody. And he was like, but I'm not sure. And I was like, then don't do it. Because that's the thing. If you're going to do that,
you need to be
need
certain.
to be sure that that is what you want to
And
do.
you have to take responsibility.
And you have to
for
assume the
whatever happens. Not
responsibility
saying
for
you have to
whatever
go,
happens. Sure. Now, granted, I mean, what the muertos do with the spill, what your dead, what your spirits want to do, I mean, that's really up to them. But at the end of the day, you called them to do that. So if it's either they decide to take someone's job or take someone's life, I mean,
you gotta live with that.
You're gonna have to live with that. But I think that comes with the discernment as a witch, that you kind of have to weigh those pros and cons. That's why I genuinely believe there's no such thing as magic without harm, right?
You're always going to
Because
harm somebody
you're
else.
always
You do a
going to harm
job
somebody.
spell,
Right,
you might be
exactly.
taking
I
it
was
from
going to
somebody
give that
else.
same exact example. If you do something as simple as you think is harmless, I need a spell for a job. Well, you're taking that opportunity from somebody else that you don't know if this could have been a single mother struggling to raise her family, or, somebody who maybe was just looking for a second. You won't know that. But you as a witch have to kind of make that call and understand, I could be taking this from somebody else. Now, if I'm going to decide to do that or not, that is your call to make.
It's kind of like the butterfly effect.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's a lot like the
Yeah.
butterfly effect. Absolutely.
So, what coping mechanisms would you recommend for somebody who has been manipulated or gaslit into believing that they shouldn't be hexing somebody, or that somehow they deserved some kind of abuse that was brought upon them?
Well,
how
I mean,
would you recommend
take
coping
over
with
on
that?
that, Azazel?
I mean, I think that, when we think about the threefold law, where it came from, essentially, it's a misinterpreted idea of, where Gerald Gardner brought in the idea of this threefold retribution in High Magic's Aid, which was a book of fiction, essentially. But even in that book, he was presenting it as a, the
It
witch
was a good fortune thing.
the witch is the one who expresses this action. Whether it's, there's good done unto them, then they return that threefold. If it's bad done unto them, then they return that threefold. And it's for them to discern how that's done. Either, if this action that's been done to me, if this deserves threefold retribution, whether it be good or bad. And then I think that it got taken even more so during the the Wiccan Read, where it was kind of put at the end of,
Harm done.
yeah,
Sure.
whatever
What
the fuck
you
it
will.
says.
I
Do what you will, harm none, whatever the fuck it says.
Love is the law. Love yeah.
I feel like
If
a lot of
if it
that.
harm none, do as
Yeah,
thou
if it harm none,
what
do
you
what you
will.
will.
Yeah.
I do also want to finish this.
But I was just saying, it's you have to really point into the fact that look inside the world. If the threefold law is what people understand it to be in the general community, they're gonna get their karma, they're gonna get their up and comings or whatever. How often do you actually see that happening?
Right.
How often, even with just to put it out there, just even with Trump and the thing that things that he has done towards the variety of communities that he has impacted, whether it things that he has actually done or things that he has said that has impacted people in certain communities in this country. What has he, what was
What
his
consequences has he really
He
faced?
gets
Other
off
than-
scot-free.
You know what I'm
right,
saying?
and
Right.
he becomes
essentially he gets off
the president.
scot-free. Right,
He
exactly.
also has so many people praying
So
for
ma-
him.
correct,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
He's
there are
also
other
backed
aspects
and
to it.
protected by that, absolutely.
And it's so it's not always going to be the fact that, I can just let God and
Right.
the universe is going to take care of it. You also have to, in certain situations, decide if this is something that matters enough to you to take action against it. And if it's something like you said, where you feel like you're being gaslit, you're feeling like you've been abused, is this worth enough to you to act retribution upon it?
Mm-hmm. I do want to also add, Sherry, to keep kind of adding to the answer to your question. Mm-hmm. I personally feel that it is the tool of the oppressor to make you believe that the power you have should not be used against them. Mm-hmm. And I feel like when you come into this power, when you come into your own sense of power as a witch, I don't feel like it's a good approach to start limiting you and telling you what you can and cannot do with your magic. Again, I feel like it is, again, going back to the tool of the oppressor, it is something that they would do to tell you, oh, there's this great power, but you could never use it against us because it would harm you. Mm-hmm. I feel like that ultimately is convincing you to never take action against them. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, going back to the disservice to yourself, it's like if you have the power to do something, if you have the power to change something, do it. And no one should make you feel guilty about it. At the end of the day, the only thing you have to contend with is your own conscience. And if you feel I have acted and I have moved in a way that I feel totally justified in, ain't shit all anybody else can tell you about it. Fuck a threefold law. Fuck all that. You know what I'm saying? If you feel like you had the merit and the reason and the right to do so, and the justification, baby, fuck it up.
This kind of reminds me, it makes me... The spirits heard you.
Cain.
He kind of just...
Cain just fell over.
While sitting down.
We didn't need that.
This kind of reminds me of some of the teachings that are in the Gospel of Aradia. Have you guys read that book?
It's on my to-read list.
It's on
not
my
all
to-read.
of it.
I have it. Need to
Cain,
read it.
You guys have read the Gospel of Aradia, right?
Yeah.
I've only read,
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
bad
so
students.
that's also the other thing, too, and again, going back to witchcraft always being political. I mean, you see in the Gospel of Aradia, she says things like, you will be the first of witches known, and I will teach you to curse your oppressors and to poison your enemies and to do all these kinds of things. And I think it just speaks to the nature of, and you know, this could almost even go into like a cultural understanding as well, too, because I mean, especially within Latin culture, witchcraft is the weapon. Right? Yeah. It's not something that is in addition to the justice. It's not something you're going to do in addition to going to court or something like that. Because in many instances, when you can't afford court, you can't afford those kinds of things, witchcraft becomes the weapon. Right? Mm-hmm. So that is the only way that you can enact justice. So for us, it's like, yeah, it's aggressive. Yes, it is violent and can be violent. Mm-hmm. But when you're dealing with a situation in which you have no other means to execute any type of justice on behalf of yourself, that's what you're going to turn to. You know what I'm saying? It's like witchcraft for us is not a supplement to, or like an addition to the legal process. And so that is in many cases, that is the process. And if that motherfucker got to die, then it is what it is.
Also, just a reminder, like, the personal is political. There is no way out of that. No matter what you think, no matter how you feel about politics, your personal life is political. So please, please, please keep that in mind and keep up the fight.
So this is Volpes with another thought-provoking question. For those that might be considering hexing in the future, what is a good either starting place or kind of hygiene spiritually to maintain? Because obviously whenever you do spell work, you're tied to that spell work and the outcome. So are there any ways to keep yourself to diminish any possible feedback or other kind of hygiene or starting point that one should do, other than we've already talked about, obviously, doing divination?
Sorry, we had to pause the podcast for a second. We were talking about sex toy stickers really quick.
We have stickers.
We
Yes,
probably
Ashley-
should have put that. It's uncensored. Maybe we should have paused it. I don't know why we paused
Ashley
it.
really wanted a kinky artichoke. So to answer,
Going back to hexing now.
so going back,
Yes,
returning
yes.
to the
Okay,
hexing.
for what it's worth, we're sitting here and I just reached behind me and pulled out a sticker sheet with kinky stickers on it, and Azazel looked at me and he was mouthing, "What's in your hand right now?" And I was like, so I just handed it to him, and now everybody wants a kinky sticker. sticker. So I had to pause it to be like, you can take whatever
Just
sticker
time me
you
out.
want, but I want the artichoke one.
So we're saving her the
Artichoke.
artichoke one, and to answer the question about what you should do
Back to my question.
before you hex somebody, and this is coming from someone who's never hexed, but I've done a lot of research, and I know
Are you being
that
an
first
armchair
of all,
witch right now?
Oh
I'm
no,
being
she's
honest.
not. Don't ever
I
speak
know
on her
you're
like
not,
that.
Sherry.
okay. First of all, you should make sure that you instill some protections for yourself because you don't want any of the blowback, obviously. So make sure you're doing some protection for yourself. Second thing that I would recommend, be very, very, very specific. You don't want any consequences to hit anybody that doesn't deserve it. So make sure that you're being very specific in whatever it is that you're doing.
so-
That's all I'm going to say.
No, that's
So
such
we'll
a...
let the people who have actually hexed somebody take it from
Absolutely.
here.
Well, it's Cain, your boy, the king of curses
Who
here.
wanted the
Be
second?
certain. I would also say be certain.
Oh, fuck.
I'll
Be
take the one that
certain,
is
If you're not
Absolutely.
certain, don't do anything.
Don't do it, but
Yeah.
also if you're not certain, it's not going to work, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like is true with all magic. It's kind of, not to be a nerd about it, but it's kind of like the unforgivable curses, right? It's like you have to mean it.
Okay, Harry.
You have to mean it, or it's
Harriet.
not going to work. And that's on
Any
Tubman.
pata.
And so,
Why does it look like an accent?
so as far as hexing hygiene is concerned, when you are hexing, especially to the level and to the degree in which you are doing that, I personally feel that after you are done, it is really important to do something like un baño, a bath, or some type of cleansing, because when you curse somebody, you're stepping into a very low, let's say, I hate to be woo-woo about it, but let's say vibrational,
Are you
quote
saying you
unquote.
hate to be woo-woo with this?
Yeah, I hate to be woo-woo, but I mean, it is what it is.
Wow.
You're stepping
On the
into
Witch
You hate
podcast
right on the Witch
only.
podcast. I hate to be woo-woo,
Not
but
on the Seeking
when you're
Witchcraft.
hexing somebody, you're stepping into a lower space, right? So when you step into that space, it's important that after you get there, you want to raise yourself back up. So cleansing yourself, clearing your space, clearing all of that residual energy. Because when you're invoking dark spirits like that, when you're invoking spirits to cause harm, when you're not clearing the space, it also leaves room for them to affect you as well. So sometimes you can face blowback, not necessarily because of the work that you're doing, but because of the precautions that you're not taking, right? So when it comes to witchcraft, when it comes to magic, it really, truly all is playing with fire. And if you're not careful, even when you're trying to harm someone else, you can harm yourself in the process. It looks like Fern has something to say.
Who are the spirits specifically that I should call upon in order to harm someone?
Could you say that a little louder?
Oh,
Just project.
what
Say with your
specific
chest.
spirits do I call upon in order to, harm
somebody
somebody? Yeah, like what are
Whomst.
whomst?
Oh, Cain is ready.
I have an idea. I have one
The
in mind.
intensity.
Well, that's
I was
a-
meditating
I have
on
a
that.
Wait. No, I want to hear your idea. What's your idea?
I don't want to say.
Tell us your idea.
No,
Come on, you're in a safe space.
I would rather you tell me first, and then I see if I'm
She confirms
on
her
the right
eyes.
track.
confirms her theory?
Yeah, that's just how I
Okay,
am.
so first and foremost, if you do work a lot with ancestors and things like that, those are always spirits that I could confide in to help you do something like that, especially in terms of divination. Sometimes, funny enough, you could want to work somebody and your spirits could tell you no, which is also a possibility that has happened to me before. I've wanted to work on somebody and my muertos, me dijeron que no.
Sometimes, though, your ancestors are racist pieces of shit.
I can't relate to that,
Does
but
that
I
mean
can
that,
say
they don't
that.
deserve it?
That what happened?
Does that mean they don't deserve it? Or
No,
what does that
sometimes
mean?
that means that person could already have something coming towards them, or even better, they are already working on them. So you don't have to do anything yourself. So I'll actually give a true to life example of that. So there was one time that when I first had moved to Atlanta, we gotten to gay Atlanta, and we really got fucked over by Airbnb people that we were supposed to stay with for a couple months. I
Told me
really
about
wanted,
this
I
recently.
did,
Yeah.
and I really
Did we talk
wanted.
about this in the mermaid episode?
I think we did, and I really wanted to work on them, and my spirit, I did divination. My spirits told me no, and I was real impressed about it because I was like, I want to fuck it up. They were like, no. So a couple days later, I had this dream of a working that I was doing in the dream.
You're like, well, I'm gonna do it in the spirit
So
realm.
I did it. Right. So because I mean, it's that as
I'm gonna
above,
come
so
to your
below.
realm.
Right, exactly. So it's like things need to happen in the astral, so to speak, before they can reflect back in this physical. So I saw that as me doing the work already on the other side. I just had to complete the cycle, or complete the, I don't know, and finish it over on this side. And I wound up doing that work instead. So sometimes they tell you no because what you may have planned might not be the way to do it, but sometimes they might have a better way to go about it, and you need to be open and to listen to something like that.
Was that
So-
who you were thinking?
No.
Yeah, I mean, there's also sometimes specific spirits as well. There was one time I was working with a girl I was friends with since middle school. I won't mention names, but she was dealing with the repercussions of sexual abuse from a family member. And for that working in particular, it was me and 4 other girls, and we called upon the spirits of abused women.
Wow.
And women
Well,
who
that
had
must have been 4.
absolutely, yeah, it was a 4. I mean, he's currently dying of some type of illness in the hospital, so to speak, but actually several illnesses. We don't know what's wrong with him, but he's miserable. He's miserable. He's slowly dying. But we invoked the spirits of the. Oh my God! But we called the spirits of
guy.
abused women because I mean, at the end of the day,
You were ready.
they did. They fed on him. They did. You know what I'm saying? Because when you're working with human spirits, especially people that were once alive that did deal with something like that, they have a much stronger compulsion, especially if they didn't have justice in life.
Yeah.
So imagine
In
how
death,
much
they're
quicker
ready
they would
for
act
vengeance.
to take that vengeance. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like those are arsenals of spirits that I would consider to work with in cases of something like that.
Yeah, I think that points towards like you don't necessarily always have to go to deity
To a deity.
or to like some like higher power to like fix it for you. Like Cain was saying, like you can always like reach out to the spirits that have dealt with this personally before, because like you know the earth has been around for a long time, and a lot of horrible shit has happened to a lot of people, and I think it's not crazy to think that, you know, that this is whatever you're dealing with has not happened before.
It's not happened before. Yeah.
And I think it would, like as Kim was saying, like, you know, call upon those people that have dealt with your specific situation before. You may not know them by name, but you'll know them by the pain that you feel can draw them out. And the pain that you're trying to correct can also pull them towards you.
And influences them. Yeah.
I'm really glad that you said that, because I feel like a lot of people don't even consider that option, because like I feel like especially today in like the witchcraft that you see on like social media and stuff like that, and
It's all about gods.
it's
Okay,
all
so
it's all about having like a connection with like a spirit or a deity before you ask them anything. Like you're always told to build a connection before asking them for anything.
Although that is true, and you will get the strongest result when you've already had an established relationship with the spirit, it is also completely possible to call upon a whole host of new spirits who have experienced
That's what I'm
thing.
saying. Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
exactly. And you'll get a really, I've got about 10 years now maybe in the craft, and I think out of all the 10 years, that was probably one of the most visceral rituals I had ever done, or workings I had ever done, because I mean you could really feel the pain, the anger, the, you know what I'm saying, coming through, rushing through all of that. It was really beautiful, and I mean I was happier to know that he's dying in the hospital. But, you know, they could be really effective. And it's funny because I remember that same girl, she reached out to me, she was like, my dad's dying in the hospital. I was like, oh my God, blessed be, that's such good news. You know, like, blah, blah, blah. You know, this, that, and third, whoop, whoop. And so she told me, I reached out to a friend and she asked me what spirits or what gods, you know, I worked with to do that. And I told her that he had me call upon the spirits of abused women. And the girl said, oh, so he knows what he's doing. Yes, baby. I will never misguide you with that. I know what I'm doing. So,
So I have a topic change question, if that's okay.
sure.
Yeah.
Especially, I would love to hear from November and Keen and the people who haven't spoke up as much. I would love to hear what your opinions are on the common misconceptions of Wicca and witchcraft that you want to address and squash.
Ooh, let's go, y'all. Dispel the myths. No, I'm letting y'all take the stage. All right, Cain out.
I know you didn't call on me, but this is Sherry, and I just want to say that, like,
Cheryl.
a lot of us, this is Cheryl. Not all of us are sitting around, like, hexing people. A lot of us take other...
Oh, yeah.
Good follow-up. Thank
Seriously,
you.
like, okay, I feel like a lot of people think that, like, all of us just worship the devil and we're doing all these,
I
like,
do.
terrible, evil things. And half the time, we're fucking sitting in our fucking living rooms, meditating with candles and incense. Like, sometimes we're doing binding spells. We're doing everything we can to not do anything harmful to somebody else. We're trying to handle it a different way. Like, we'll take any other option that we can before we go that route. And I just want people to know that.
I can give an example of a misconception. Witches could be regular old people. They could be the lawyer next door.
Sure.
They could be a doctor.
You know what?
Police officer.
I could agree with that.
Yeah.
That's like me right there.
Yeah. You don't have to have a triple moon pentacle. Or you
Right.
You don't have to, buy
I'm-
into the aesthetic. You could just be a regular old person and just practice witchcraft. That's your spirituality.
Yeah, not gonna lie, I'm one of the most vanilla people out there.
If you met Cain, you would not think.
Yeah.
You would never know.
Yeah, like
Until he takes off his shirt, then you're like, there's something there.
Yep.
yeah, right.
Without
Maybe it's those
context,
antler
that's
That
tattoos.
sounds weird, but
It's the tattoos.
yeah,
But
the hidden tattoos.
but yeah, like just meeting me out on the street, you wouldn't really expect. Like I technically, I work for a defense contractor. Like but like this is, I guess, where I find fulfillment in things.
He has an Android phone. You would never imagine.
Jesus
He's a
Christ.
normal guy.
Yeah. So
that's
it's
just
just
He's just a chill guy.
He's a
But,
normal dude.
That just goes to show, like, you don't have to, like, buy all the tarot decks and get a bunch of crystals.
But you can
and-
if you want.
You can if you
Yeah.
want.
But don't.
But also, like, you
necessary.
don't have to. It's
don't have
about
to go
just,
in
like,
debt for
your passion and what you want to do.
Just
and
do what's
what you
true
believe
for you.
in. Like, it's... You don't
Like,
have to dress in black and, like, I don't know, have long-ass nails. I don't know.
You don't have to do this crazy shit.
You
Like,
can't have
isn't there,
long-ass
like, the
nails.
meme about, like,
I
you
love
don't
it
have all the
brings you joy.
spices, so
Yes.
you use, like, a bag of, like, hot Cheetos or something.
All right, y'all, I'm going to take it there.
Wait, she has not gone yet.
Please,
Wow.
November, take over.
November.
Kane's about to explode if he doesn't say something.
I know Cain is trying so hard not to speak.
I have a lot of thoughts.
He doesn't even go here.
I guess
he's
sort of to
welcome.
to
Yes.
bounce off of Sherry, like that we're not evil.
I'm evil.
Yeah,
All right.
We're not-
Some of us are, but not all of
but
us.
We're also like not super evil,
Kids
but we're
love.
also not like
Super evil.
we're also not all like love and light or whatever. Like I think that we're all very rooted in duality, and I think that's, I don't know, important to recognize in us. And also that we don't all know everything. We don't
Nope.
all know how to do all of the divination. You know, you can't ask every witch that you meet to tell you how to find the love of your life or whatever. You know, I don't know how to tell you that, and I don't want to tell you that either. I truly don't give a shit.
Me.
Like, I'm not gonna read your cards, you know, like, for me, it's a very personal practice. It's not
Yep.
so, like, it's a personal practice. It's practice for,
It's for
my
you.
coven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like, it's not something that I necessarily want to lend out to others all willy-nilly.
Exactly.
I love that.
Like
Yeah.
personally, I'm really not out to anyone except for my coven and my
Your
partner.
fiance.
Yeah, my fiance.
Yeah, like,
So
which-
it's for me. It's like
Yeah.
what fulfills me. And you don't really need to advertise, like go up on the mountains, exclaim it to everyone, "Hey, I'm pagan, I'm this, I'm that." It's really what fulfills you.
yeah, witchcraft isn't, like, a label that I'm wearing or, like, a service that I have to offer for anybody. It's, you know, I'm not like an Etsy witch or whatever.
That's at Feast of Torches has an Etsy. Check it out.
No, yeah, do.
but
I
it's,
did not know
it's
that.
my religion. It's very personal, and
100%
you know, like
agree.
who I do and do not share like certain like aspects of my practice with is completely up to me. So
And that's
even
okay.
though, like whether you're out like me or not out like Cain, like respect our fucking boundaries.
Yeah.
I love that you said that, because as somebody who is out to an extent, I mean, I'll tell people I'm pagan. I won't go into the nitty gritty of like, yeah, I'm a Gardnerian, Wiccan high priestess, you know, like
Right.
people don't need to know that. I think people ask a lot of questions because they are not familiar with paganism, with really what Wicca is, except for like, you know, they might have seen The Craft and they're like, oh, is that what you're doing? Are you Nancy? And I'm
I
like,
bind
absolutely
you.
not.
I bind you, Nancy.
So I think people have a general curiosity, but sometimes I'm just like, this is just, it's for me. It's for my spiritual fulfillment. I don't want to sit here and have to explain my spirituality in a sense. It's like, if you're interested,
need to
I can
justify
recommend some
yourself to
books. I know a
anyone.
podcast.
Oh, and also, like, if you meet me with, like, genuine curiosity, you know, I'm more open to talking about it. But I
Oh,
can
of
also
course.
tell, like, the difference between that and, like, your
Being
curiosity,
catty.
like, and, like, curiosity with judgment.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
like, I can tell if you're doing this
Genuinely
from a place
curious, or if you're
Yeah.
trying to judge
You have
me,
an ulterior motive.
or an
Yeah.
ulterior motive of some kind. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, like I was so I'm a power lifter. This is Sherry.
And
I was
it
at the
is,
gym.
and
Oh
it
my God.
is. Let's go. Let's
A
go.
record-winning powerlifter.
Yes, yes, I have some state records.
Ow, let's go.
Anyway, I was at the gym with my coach, and
Spikes.
I was having a rough lifting day, and he was like, do you need to, like, he knows I'm a witch. He doesn't know that much about it, but he knows I'm a witch. And my coach asked me if I need to, like, go outside and, like, do some Wiccan chants, and that would help
Like, go outside, do some Wiccan
my
shit.
powerlifting. And I'm
Oh,
like,
no.
Invoke that fire.
Do you
yeah,
need
and I
some
was like,
chants?
no, like, I'll just do, like, a fire invocation. That's all I need to do. And it was kind of one of those moments where I was like, oh, I kind of need to, like, explain a little bit of this to him. Because, yes, I do apply my witchcraft to my lifting. And I do spells before all of my meets and everything to make sure everything
Baby,
goes
why not be
well.
bench
And so
pressing like
far,
Toro Polos?
it's worked wonders. But I was like,
2 chickens.
I don't need to like run outside and do
Polos.
like chants just to make my workout go
Yeah.
well. You know, it's not that deep. You know, like I can apply
Pigs
it,
and pollos.
but it's not that
Dos
crazy.
pollo.
So
Who got some
Sorry.
pussies?
Sherry having this lovely
why
conversation.
are we talking about chicken? Do you say pollo?
I said boyo, which is
Oh.
pussy.
I heard
I was like, who got two
too.
pussies?
I thought you said you're lifting 2 pollos. I was like, you're lifting 2 rotisseries? Like,
Está levantando dos bollos.
2
A
rotisseries?
rotisserie chicken on every
Two
end of the
pussies?
Oh my
I
god.
could
Two
go for some
rotisseries.
rotisserie chicken.
Honestly,
Two rotisseries?
Yeah, that sounds good.
I would fuck up a rotisserie chicken.
That shit would go
Okay, but
crazy
can
right
we,
now.
I'm
Alright,
just saying
back-
the Sam's Club one has the best rotisserie.
But do they have the rosemary and garlic one? Because I found that at Safeway once, and that was
No, the
actually-
Sam's Club
Oh.
rotisserie is the best one you'll have.
I can't wait to
I
edit
need to
this
get
later.
the Sam's Club rotisserie.
This is uncensored.
I need chapstick.
It's
Okay,
I have some.
uncensored.
I have some.
Volpez was gonna say something, I believe.
You want-
Oh
Mango
yes,
pomegranate?
I think
Here you go.
I think it's like tangentially related, but I don't think
And
you
lip gloss?
owe
I mean, chopstick.
to anyone remaining out of the broom closet. You are always free to step back in when it's safe for you, and I
Yeah.
think a lot of
Oh, I love
times,
that.
like especially for people who are minorities in any sphere, but like in witchcraft as well, like we feel like once we step out in one aspect, we need to remain out. And like, yes, there is power in being out and like helping other people see you and like feeling empowered themselves, but also sometimes, especially the way things are going politically right now, sometimes it is a good move to just take a step back or be more cautious about who you share information with, even if you were more open, because I think sometimes people will out you, so you need to be like more careful about who you are selecting. And there are times where it's safe to be in a room where you're like, I don't give a fuck if all these people are judging me. And there's other time where it's like, my boss,
This is not safe.
Yeah.
Oh,
my boss
That's
may
partly why I'm not
decide
up.
that they
Fully,
can
yeah.
find a reason to like dock my pay,
Sure.
cut my hours,
Yeah.
or fire me.
Yeah.
because they have a certain prejudice. And that goes for any minority, but like I feel like witchcraft, a lot of times we come with multiple layers of that being on the outskirts already.
Sure.
Yeah,
You
it's
know?
a balancing act for
Yeah.
sure.
I think also, I mean, this is coming from my own personal experience, and I observed that it's definitely not the experience of everybody. I've been out since I was, 12, 13 years old, so
Oh my god, you're gay?
I've been
We never knew.
craft-wise,
Oh my god.
since I was, really young, going to high school in, the Bible Belt in Georgia. And I have found personally that being more upfront about my practice, about my craft with people who are deeply religious, I've seen more of like we see each other, where it's definitely the way that you explain it. If you come off as being very, I guess, antagonistic in the way that they present, like the way that they question you, obviously the way that they question you is going to be ignorant because they don't know they don't know anything. But I think as long as you come to them in a certain way that presents like, yes, I'm serious about this, and this is something that is deeply personal to me.
And it's not Hollywood.
It's not Hollywood.
Yeah.
It's not something that, I'm just playing up as, whatever, because I like the spooky shit.
You're not levitating in your bedroom.
Right. And you talk to
Today.
them, in a way that they feel like they can understand. I feel like I've gotten a lot more respect from those people, in my own experience. But at the same time, having those conversations with people like that, I have seen where it's gotten me to a conversation and being not necessarily accepted, because I don't really give a shit about being accepted by them, but got me to a place where they respect my own traditions, where I've seen people who have certain beliefs that they don't necessarily agree with, and they get treated worse because they don't understand it. They don't get the time to take. Nobody takes the time to really explain to them the differences or really see them eye to eye. And while I don't necessarily agree with a lot of people on the other side in the way that they believe, I think that meeting them halfway and getting them to understand where you're coming from and the severity of the religious practice that you have, can get them to be like, okay, I get it, and can bridge that gap a little bit. Whereas normally they won't really see, there's like, he's a devil worshiper and blah blah blah, and they'll all the tropes will like start flowing through their head, and they'll treat that person that way. Like even if they had that interaction with you, they'll still treat the other person that way because like that's the way that their brain is triggered to do for some fucking reason. But I found it to be a lot more helpful in your own personal life to be a lot more upfront and not come at it in a scared way. And I will admit that this trait that I have will probably get me killed in the near future. But
You can't do that because it means I gotta die too.
whatever. I hold no bars. Like, if you're gonna come at me for,
This motherfucking gonna be killed, y'all.
yeah, if you're gonna come at me for doing witches, I'm not gonna deny it. Like this is my practice. This is something that is serious to me, and I'm not going to deflect and to put myself in a place where it's to make yourself feel better.
We
My
shouldn't have to
question-
hide it.
No.
Wait, I want to add something to this too about Wicca and I guess like for our group. I don't want to speak for you guys, but I assume you could probably relate with this. I consider myself to be very deeply religious. I mean, I have a coven, I have initiates.
Deep.
Thank you. But when you explain that you're Wiccan to other people who might only understand Christianity or any other like mainstream religion, their interpretation of what it means to be deeply religious might be, somebody going to Bible
How
camp.
deeply religious?
Thank you. Somebody going to Bible camp, somebody always preaching about Jesus, handing out little Bible scriptures, things like that, asking to pray for you. But I think in Wicca, people are a lot more, people keep this religion closer to their heart.
Yeah.
We don't proselytize.
Exactly, we don't, well, at least like for our.
Well, it's
our-
also because I don't. I'm sorry to interject.
Cain
here,
was like,
but
if I don't say
because
anything,
if I
I'm
don't say
gonna
anything, I'm gonna explode. But I also, I feel like we don't feel, at least for the girls who know, we don't feel the need to proselytize. If you know, you know. We don't feel the need to proselytize.
Prostitution.
We don't feel the need to prostitute because
Cain sounded a little bit too much wine.
It was
No, I
actually
think
liquor.
Cain was
But
With beer.
Don Julio.
It was the
we had a
tequila.
couple of things. But anyway, moral of the story is,
Tequila.
conclusión. What I'm saying is,
Say it in Spanish.
we don't, in conclusion, conclusión, I don't feel, what?
This is your head, bro.
I know it's my language. Hold on, but
Wait, no, actually, you were
your
just
mind.
saying
why'd you
something.
say no?
No, because you just said
I
something.
was saying that,
His brain derailed.
and I'm not speaking for everybody, but as a Wiccan, I keep this close to my heart. I keep it as a personal religion. I mean, outside of my coven, it's really just for me. It's not something I go about. I mean, I have a podcast, but I don't advertise it to,
Sure. Oh,
every
okay.
single person I meet. But if most people are used to those who are very deeply religious, talking about Bible verses and Jesus and this and
Right,
that.
well,
and
there's a reason
whatever.
for that, right? And that's I'm
recruiting.
gonna make the girls mad, but
The girls.
I'm gonna make the girls mad. The cross-bearing girlies. I personally feel that when you have no proof of your religion other than convincing people that it's real, you're going to feel the need to want to convert more people because that's the only mode of proof that you have is real. Whereas, as opposed to witches, I feel no need to convince other people.
I've seen some shit.
And
Because I've
I've
seen
seen
shit, yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I have
No.
seen it. I have lived
If Cain
it.
has said
I
it.
know when I exactly,
Honestly,
exactly. I know that when I do a spell, this happens. I know when I go to my spirits, I get what I need. I don't feel the need to try to convince people
Yeah.
that
'Cause
that
you
is
know it's
real
real for
because
you,
it's
yeah.
real to me.
That's
you know
where
what
I'm
I'm saying?
at.
And I feel like if you're religious, when you are used to unanswered prayers, when you're used to God never showing up, when you're used to all these things, the only proof you have is convincing other people also.
Yeah, that was my background growing up. Shit.
Me
yeah.
too.
Key, do you
Me
want
too.
to talk a little bit about that?
Let's go.
Yeah, I was raised like in a Christian church. I honestly didn't really feel anything from it. I've seen all sorts of other people getting experiences and whatnot, and I was like, hey, why am I not feeling the same thing?
I
but
had that too. Yeah.
But yeah, like and then like eventually my path led me here, and this just like it feels more real to me. Like I felt more just spending some time alone out in the woods than I ever did in like a church sanctuary.
Yeah.
So I don't know, just like whatever feels real for you, go for it. Like it could be this, it could be something else. Who cares?
Yeah, definitely there's something to the fact that witchcraft is so experiential. Like,
Exactly.
the way that you can understand it is by having the experiences.
And no
like,
amount of explaining to somebody else can prove it to them. They just need to
exactly,
experience
like,
it themselves.
and there's no way to sometimes even conceptualize in like a verbal way to other people like what those experiences are like. The only way to really understand it fully is to have been there in that
Yeah.
moment. So I think it makes it very different from a lot of organized religions where like
You
there
put your
is
faith in the God itself.
right, and there's also like a lot of rhetoric about like when this happens, we understand it as X, and so you can talk about it because you're like, oh, it falls under A or B or C or D, whereas like witchcraft is so individualized. I feel like you can't always find a word that really describes your unique experience.
Yeah, just go with whatever feels right to you.
Yeah, and there's like so many different avenues that can be explored with it, and so many different ways you can go about it. Like it's not like this is the one way that we do X, right? Like there is no one way to do anything in witchcraft. Like
There is no one way.
there's so many ways you can do it, and none of them are wrong. And so,
Well,
there are better ways and there are worse ways. Obviously,
I don't know.
There is no correct one way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is no one path.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to witchcraft, if you're curious, if you're listening this far, first of all, thank you. Second of all, if you're curious, I think sometimes, gods don't appear day one, your very first spell. Sometimes you have to work at it. You have to put your whole pussy into it.
I also just want to say in the topic of like being seen in the public eye and things like that. This is kind of off topic, but this is actually related. I personally, so at least where I'm coming from, brujas you didn't know who they were, right? It's like you did not know who the witches were, at least within the culture, right? So it's like, I remember one of my homegirls, Myla, who...
Let's just out her. We're gonna.
Well, no, she's no on Instagram. She's La Bruja Myla. Follow her. That's a real ass bitch. But anyway,
That's a real ass bitch.
That's a real ass bitch. I will say right now, I don't fear many people, but that's a bitch I'm very afraid of, and I respect her very much. But you know, she would tell me stories, you know, of her abuelita. And, you know, she'd say, you know, when you'd come over, like, my abuelita, like, she would have hierbas, herbs, like, hanging in the kitchen and things like that. But anybody who saw it thought, you know, this is just an old lady who likes to cook. But those were all herbs that were used for a lot of different purposes.
What's that Italian witch, Mama or Nona or something?
That what?
The Italian witch. It was like the cartoon.
Oh,
Nona.
Stregonona.
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 which
That's
means
what it
like
was.
grandma,
She would be
yeah.
that.
It was
like,
that, yeah. It was
yeah.
Stregonona because, I mean, but that's the culture, right? At least for us, it's like brujas, witches, you did not know who they were. And that was the thing about it. They were, I mean...
They were
and
the
I
healers, they were the midwives.
Yeah, but they were everything. And they just looked like regular people. And I say that because I feel like there's like this weird cosplay thing happening with witchcraft. And like I'll see bitches
Oh my God,
walking
like
around...
Avatar?
No, like I'll see bitches walking around with capes and shit in public. And like with a wand and like a pointy hat. And it just kind of gets to
And
the
a lot
point
of
where...
eyeliner.
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of gets to the point where it's like... It feels like you're wearing a costume. Rather than you're actually really serious about your practice. It seems more like you are more concerned with conveying and projecting the image of you being a witch rather than you actually being that bitch. You know what I'm saying?
But a cape
Like,
The
feel
image
good, though.
versus the
I mean, a
identity.
cape is, you know, work. But like, it's just like, but like, I mean, we're talking Party City, babe. Like, it's just not, it's not good. It's not quality. So like,
This from Cain. If you're gonna wear a cape,
if you're
make
gonna
it
just
good.
make it good,
Make it Gucci.
good, baby. I want to see silk. I want to see all of the high end.
Velvet.
I want to see all of
Support your
that.
local business.
Make it mean something.
I make it mean something. If you go big or go home, you know what I'm saying? It's just like if you're gonna do that, if you're gonna try to pass yourself off as Sorcerer Supreme, then you need to look like that. But I think when you're so caught up in projecting image rather than actual practice, and I've talked to witches like that, I mean, that have high count followers on Instagram, all these
count
other
body
kinds
hair.
of things.
Yeah,
High body counts on Instagram and, you know, and all these other kinds of things. And then when I sit and I talk to them, there's no practice. Like, you know, I remember asking one once, I won't give names, but, you know, I was like, hey, what's your practice? What is your, you know, what do you do? They start talking to me about astrology. And I'm like, yeah, that's really
That's not
cute.
witchcraft,
That's
though.
nice, but that's not witchcraft, though. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what is your practice? What do you do? And I just kind of get the runaround or like vague answers. And it's just like, okay, so you're just in it because of image, essentially. So, I mean, don't get so caught up in trying to sell an image that you're not actually living up to what that is. And I think that goes back again to the politics of witchcraft and all these other kinds of things. If you, in my opinion, are taking the mantle of being a witch, then you are ultimately agreeing to the hundreds of years of oppression, the years of persecution, the years of hatred that come attached to something like the word witch. That's all I want to say.
Well, we should probably wrap
Mic
up of Seeking Witchcraft featuring Cain and friends.
We love Cain, by the way.
We love
like
Cain.
we love everything that he has to say. So
Cain
Make
almost
it known.
threw a phone at my head.
That's
you-
I just want to
daddy.
make that known. This is
Do you
Fred.
guys have any final thoughts to close out the episode?
Do what feels right to you.
yeah,
But intention is not always everything.
No.
No, it's not, and that's a whole nother episode.
make sure you double
That's a
check.
whole nother episode.
Make sure
Absolutely.
that your
Do your
intention
homework.
Listen,
is-
as they say, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yeah, make sure that your intention is in the right place. Like, do some divination first. Make sure that you're doing the right thing.
And I feel like a good thing to take away from this too is if you're feeling that uncertainty that we talked about earlier, and especially if it's rooted in fear, that probably the best thing to do is call upon the aid of other witches.
That's
I
right.
love that.
That's right. And I just want to say, destroy your enemies.
All right, do you guys want to give your name, or did you have any?
I mean,
I gotta pee. You can introduce
I was gonna say, do you want to give your name and how to find you on social media? Kane, do you want to go
How about
first?
before you destroy the apartment?
Yeah, holla at your boy at Guard Poppy on Instagram. That's GARD Poppy. You know, your everybody's favorite brujito.
I feel like I just listened to a Geico commercial.
Not no.
And like I said on my yoga episode, I am Super Saiyan Share on Instagram.
You want her to
Super
spell that?
SAIYANCHER. If you want to find me, you're welcome. I mostly post memes and lifting shit and witchy shit, but hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Goodbye.
Keen, you don't have anything, right?
Well, I do have it. I just don't follow it.
Oh,
So
okay.
just it doesn't really. Yeah.
Just send your messages to me. I'll forward them to Keen.
Yeah,
He's
that
just
works.
a chill guy.
He's just
Yeah.
a chill guy.
Yeah.
I really don't follow social media.
He's just a man.
He's just a boy.
Boy.
Powerful boy.
November.
You can find me on Instagram at Lemon Crush Monday.
And you can find me at Seeking Witchcraft on Instagram.
Who is she?
I don't know.
Oh my god, really?
I don't have any social media because I live under a rock because I like nature that much.
Happy
Yeah,
Star.
But I will say instead as a piece of advice, don't get caught up in just following somebody else's written words. Make them your own.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Absolutely.
Slay.
If I did have a final statement. This is Fern. Holy shit! If you're gonna tell people you're a fucking witch, do it with your whole fucking pussy, bitch.
Be about it.
Yeah.
That's right, bitch.
Do it
That's
with your
right.
chest. Do it with your pussy.
Put your
do it
whole
with whatever.
pussy into it.
Your whole broomstick and everything, bitch.
Alright. Do you see next to you? Look next to you.
Hello.
The lovebirds.
All right. People are making out next to me.
They're putting their whole pussies into it. Okay.
They're putting their
really
whole
are.
pussies
The
into
whole
each
pussies.
other. Anyways, whole bussies. Sorry. Anyways, you can
Your social media.
my social media. You can find me on Instagram. What's my username?
What is it? What is it?
It's Fern, FERN, like the plant. Romero, ROMERO, and a D at the
Why'd you
end.
say Romero?
Fern Romero D. Boom. That's
She
the
got that
one.
D.
This is way too long.
Romero.
I'm so,
She got the D.
I got the D.
Alright, well, thank you everybody for listening to Witches and Wine. Kane, do you have anything else you want to say while you're in your makeup session?
Hey yo.
Alright.
Okay.
I wish you could see what is happening to the left of me.
Kane had a little bit too much.
Kane is literally straddling his face.
Not my high priest.
My high priest is touching his
Dad.
ass right now.
Wait. Let's all take a moment to understand that Azazel is in the chair with the button, which is probably really uncomfortable on his balls right now.
Maybe it's really comfortable for him now.
And Kane immediately got up when I said that.
Not the balls.
Oh my god.
Alright, well, thank you for listening. And I hope you guys enjoyed the Witches and Wine Uncensored. If you were very confused during this episode, go listen to the ones I started when I started the podcast. Okay, bye!
Bye.
Bye. I was also confused by this episode.
I hope you leave that